and thanks for watching the report and for staying on for this audio commentary. Since the video was relatively short, I thought it might be fun to share some thoughts about it. The first thing to mention is that it's a big shift in format from the real play Judge Dredd videos already featured on the Life of Die channel. Why? Well, the main reason is that I've already run and featured those starter set scenarios on here, so even though the chip cap rules were being tested out, it didn't really feel enough in itself to make an attractive proposition to simply just replay them in that format. I was also heavily inspired by Alan Stenhouse's Strontium Dog series. Please check it out on this channel if you haven't already, it's fantastic. And his reports had more of a focus on recreating that comic book feel and telling a good story. So I really wanted to give Judge Dredd a similar treatment, and of course I'd always dreamt of writing my own Judge Dredd strips, so this was finally my chance to do so. So far as how I made this video, it's just a series of stills I took while playing the game before writing a basic script to accompany those images. No liberties were taken with the gameplay just to make things fit in with the narrative. The narrative came later. It was all about testing out the chip cap, so I had to be genuine with the roles, there was no jiggery pokery. I then ran those images through Comic Life 3, which is an app I've got, and added the speech bubbles and captions. The only complaint I've got is I'm not fully in love with the font, so that might change for future episodes. I also used an app called Effects, which was for the gunfire flares. It's actually a good app, but it's really limited. I'd love to have seen like a lightning effect for the Lawgiver's stun pulse and maybe some blood spatter to illustrate gunshots tearing through the victims. But unfortunately, yeah, those weren't available, so I did what I could with what I had. I have to admit, I really enjoyed the challenge of switching things up and creating my own Dredd comic. It was fun leaving out all of the dice rolling in favour of a purely narrative battle report. And now having a true understanding of the work involved, I've even more respect for Alan's achievement in creating such a sprawling and varied campaign for the Strontium Dog miniatures game. It really is unique and completely epic, and it's something I've never seen anywhere else, so hats off again to Alan. While I'm really pleased with the results I've had with this particular report, it's worth mentioning that making reports this way is really time consuming. In fact, this 7-minute video took me as long as some of the recent episodes, which were like an hour and a half, nearly 2 hours long, to actually edit and put together, and this was a really relatively quick and simple scenario. So for that reason, and because I like to run larger scale games, this is unlikely to become the main format for reports on the channel, just in case you're thinking this is the start of how it's going to be. I will try and use this format to some degree in the upcoming Judge Dredd campaign episodes, but again we'll be doing a lot more real play if you like. For anyone that missed me talking about the chip cap before, there's a link to the rules on my blog in the video's description. Basically, for every chip a smaller force puts into the bag, the larger force can only put out a maximum of 1.5 chips rounded up into the bag. This again was Andy Chambers' idea to limit the chips going into the bag, and regular viewers may recall I already tested out an earlier idea where the cap was set at 2-to-1 chips, but Andy felt that was a bit too generous still to the larger force. To be honest, I think he was right. The biggest issue with the Judge Dredd game was that the perps numbers were really conspiring to overwhelm the judges, so a perp player was really incentivised to take the cheapest models possible. Now, if you have several models that you can't activate in a given turn, that means you don't want to ram your force full of those cheaper models, and you're going to want to add into the mix perp leaders who can return chips to the bag. Really important, they're going to be the centrepiece of your gang now. And you'll also want to field additional characters like Mean Angel or Orlok the Assassin to ensure that more of the chips going into the bag are star chips rather than the standard action chips. And making those characters indispensable to your perp crews is going to bring you a lot of fun to the game. I know this from the sheer number of cool villains that featured in the Strontium Dog miniatures game, and all the best battles were the ones where Johnny and his friends faced off against crews that featured the likes of Max Bubba, Darkus and Cancer, and now it should be the same for Judge Dredd, so I think that's something worth celebrating. So far as it went in this game, the chip cap limit, as you can see, even though the perps were more limited, the judge still failed. In fact, the perps actually completed their mission at the end of turn 2. The game normally would have ended there and then, and it was only because I knew I was doing this report and it was going to be really short, both in terms of length and action. I thought I'll just play that last turn to see how that would have went. To be honest, this indicates to me that even at this very limited level, the chip cap is not going too far in the opposite direction and making the judges gods. It's true that I could have tried to return this judge's star chip into the bag in turn 1, but it's a virtual coin toss as to whether that would have come off or not, and I felt I needed him to sprint in turn 2, and if I had failed that go for broke, getting pinned unnecessarily could have derailed that sprint action. I'd also hoped for some incoming fire as well, so that the judge's gunfighter skill would come into play, but rather than getting bogged down in a gunfight, the perp player, now restricted by the number of chips, by the chip cap, was really ruthless in getting the two perps he could activate. He tried to get them off the board as quickly as possible. That's the mission objective, so it was absolutely the right call, even if you could argue that it might have been more fun for to have a stand-up fight and trade shots. So yeah, the other thing I'd mention about the chip cap in this one, this is the smallest possible level of game, and the chip cap is really coming out at 2-1, which is not normal. So this mission is slightly easier for the perps than the chip cap is for games featuring 2 or more judges, and it's going to be games of that size that are coming soon. So just to wrap things up, I hope you enjoyed this little Easter egg, and maybe I'll do another chip cap test soon. The next one will be Half Eagle Day, which I know a lot of people, including myself, have found incredibly challenging for the judges, so it should provide a better barometer for the chip cap rules than this particular scenario does. And just want to say thank you again for watching, and please consider liking and subscribing if you want to see more. Until next time then, keep on living the life of Die.